And then it happened, Book 7, Chapter 3, Halloween. There are three certainties in every kid's life: homework, chores, and the year your parents tell you you're too old to go out for Halloween. This year, none of the kids in our class were allowed to go trick-or-treating. Most of us were assigned the boring task of handing out candy at the door instead of the excitement of collecting candy door to door. Gordon, Paul, and I were especially upset by the fact that our parents expected us to hand out candy this year. We reminded our parents that in the last 3 years, we had not collected a single chocolate bar, a single bag of chips, a single pack of gum between the three of us. If there were any justice in this world, we argued, our parents would not deny us one last chance to go trick-or-treating. Apparently, there was no justice in this world. Our parents held firm. You're too old to go trick-or-treating, they told us. This year you're handing out candy, and that's final. We knew better than to argue with our parents when their minds were made up. Besides, Paul and I figured that Gordon would come up with a plan to get us out of handing out candy and collecting some for ourselves. We were not disappointed. Listen, said Gordon the next day at recess, this may be our final chance to go out for Halloween. We can't let our parents rob us of the opportunity to get lots of candy. After all, we deserve it. Paul and I agreed and waited eagerly for Gordon to tell us his plan. We're supposed to go to Paulo's house and hand out candy, right? Asked Gordon. Right, said Paulo. My parents are going to a party, so they can't do it. Mine too, I said. Yeah, but my sister and her friends are handing out candy at my place. Okay, said Gordon. We'll go to Paulo's and hand out his candy, but as soon as we're done, we'll get into our costumes and take off to go trick-or-treating. How are we going to sneak costumes out of the house without our parents getting suspicious? I asked. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble again, added Paulo. This is the beauty of the plan. We can't possibly get caught, Gordon assured us. Not only will we hand out all the candy at Paulo's house, but we're going to collect a ton of candy ourselves too. When people see the great costume I have in mind for the three of us, they will throw the candy at us by the bowlful. And we won't even have to utter a single trick-or-treat or ring any doorbells. We'll honestly be able to tell our parents that we didn't go trick-or-treating. What do you mean, the costume you have in mind for the three of us? I asked suspiciously, picturing myself stuck in the rear end of a horse costume or something. You'll see, said Gordon. Meet me at my place after school, and we'll get started on it. I spent the rest of the day wondering what Gordon had in mind. When he finally told us his plan, I had to admit it was brilliant. Gordon, you've outdone yourself, I said, and we quickly set to work. First, we bolted 2 old wooden wagons together to make one large one. Then we removed the front and back wheels and replaced them with tires from our bikes to raise the wagon up off the ground. Next, we measured Gordon and cut up some old plywood Gordon had found in the basement. We hammered the pieces together, painted it black, and then stood back to admire our work. A coffin on wheels. And now to try it out, said Gordon, climbing in and laying down. He closed his eyes and folded his arms upon his chest. Cool, I said. Ooh, creepy, whispered Gordon. You really look dead lying there. Perfect, exclaimed Gordon, climbing out. And you guys will make great pallbearers dressed in your suits. Halloween was just 2 days away. In order to keep our parents from getting suspicious, we all whined and pouted about missing our last chance to go trick-or-treating. They still didn't change their minds. October 31st finally arrived. At 10 minutes to 6, I stuffed my only suit, a white shirt, and one of my dad's ties into my backpack, and at 6 o'clock sharp, I was dropped off at Paulo's house. "Bye, Dad," I mumbled, trying my best to look sad and disappointed. "Cheer up," he told me. "It won't be so bad handing out candy. You might actually enjoy it." To my surprise, he was right. It felt great dumping the entire bowl of candy into the pillowcase of the first trick-or-treater to knock at Paulo's door. The kid thanked us with a huge grin before he ran off, lugging his heavy load. "Well, we gave out all the candy, just like my parents told us to," said Paulo, turning out the porch light and blowing out a pumpkin. "Now it's our turn to go and get some loot." We quickly got into our suits. Gordon had purchased a skull cap and some bushy white eyebrows at a costume shop to make him look like an old man. He covered his face with white powder. The effect was fantastic. Lying motionless in the coffin with his arms folded across his chest, Gordon really looked like a dead 80-year-old man. Paul and I walked on opposite sides of the coffin and tried to look sad as we wheeled Gordon toward town. Careful to stay away from our own neighbourhood, where we might be recognised, we walked down street after street, Gordon playing dead while Paul and I acted as mournful pallbearers. When people saw us passing by, they came out of their houses for a better look. Delighted and surprised by our ingenious costume, they ran back inside to get handful after handful of candy for us, which they dropped into the coffin around Gordon. Before long, the coffin was brimming with candy, chips, and chocolate bars. A few people even snapped our pictures as we marched along. We were nearing the wealthy end of town, where they always gave out the best candy. Paul and I struggled to push the coffin, which had grown heavier with candy, up the steep hill toward the mansions at the top. "Come on, guys," urged Gordon. "We're almost at the top," panted Paulo. And then it happened. Paulo tripped in a pothole and lost grip on the coffin. I tried desperately to keep the coffin from rolling back down the steep hill, but loaded down with Gordon and all of our candy, it was just too heavy. "No!" I yelled as the coffin rolled down the hill, picking up speed at an alarming rate. Paul was back on his feet, and the two of us raced after Gordon. "Stop that coffin!" I yelled. By now, Gordon was sitting up, and candy was flying out in all directions. Kids came from out of nowhere, running to stop the coffin and to save Gordon. At least that's what I thought they were doing. Then I saw them scrambling and grabbing the candy that littered the road. "Our candy! They're stealing our candy!" I shouted. "Never mind that! Gordon's headed straight for the river," yelled Paulo. Sure enough, Gordon and what was left of our candy flew across the road at the foot of the hill and plunged into the river, right on the other side. On impact, the coffin tore loose from the wagon upon which it sat. The wagon immediately sank, but the coffin began floating down the river, taking Gordon with it. Paul and I plunged into the chilly water and swam after the coffin. We had just caught up with it when we suddenly heard the wail of a fire engine in the distance. Someone had called the fire department and they were racing to the river to save us. A minute later, a huge searchlight blinded us and a voice boomed out, "Stay with your craft. We're coming to rescue you." "Oh no," moaned Paulo, gripping the side of the coffin as we floated down the river. "I just knew it was too good to be true. Your stupid plan got us in trouble again, Gordon." Relax," said Gordon. "Our parents will never find out." A rope was thrown to us from the rescue squad on the shore, and we were pulled to safety. Gordon sitting in the coffin and Paul and I floating alongside. side. As Gordon stepped from the coffin, a news camera from the local TV station zeroed in on all three of us. Meanwhile, back in town, Gordon's parents were watching the 9 o'clock news. They tuned in just in time to see their son's face filling the screen as he spoke to the rescue squad. "Oh, we're fine," Gordon assured the rescue squad, "but whatever you do, please don't tell our parents." End of the chapter.